Hi, this is Zach here with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Wednesday, the 30th of July. Starting off with the FTSE, which is hanging on in there at the top of the old green 2024 rising trend channel, the floor of that channel around 90.50. Above that, we are looking for an acceleration to the upside or a steeper ascent to the top of that red rising trend channel from back in May. That's has its resistance line currently around 92.70, which is the target for or buy at the end of next month. On the downside, hoping that we'll stay on the right side of 9,000, the floor of the channel from May around the 90.20 area. Moving on to the DAX, and here, apart from the spoof regarding the EU-US trade deal, we've got the market doing what it's done for quite a while now, the whole month basically, which is bouncing off the 50-day line. That's still rising there at 23,900. And we've also got the RSI, sort of RSI bounces near the 50 level as well, which should be positive, although there is now a line of resistance that you can see through the 24,400 level. So probably, if you are not of a mind to just hang around in a dead market, you'd wait for a break of 24,400 and then target the top of the channel there from last year, 25,300 by the end of next month. On the downside, hoping that any losses are limited to the old March resistance, 23,500. The Dow is next, and here it's been a case of getting blocked at 45,000 on several occasions. We broke a line of resistance from earlier in the month, and it looks as though we might have to test that as support. That's around 44,300. But the easiest thing here is to wait for an end-of-day close through 45,000, or look for dips towards the recent support there, 43,800. Presumably, once the 50-day line catches up with the price action, then we might see the next move to the upside. But RSI remaining above neutral 50 at 58, so it is in a good place for a potential move to the upside. On to the cryptos of the day, which are Bitcoin, and here you can see it's crawling around or along the floor of that steep red channel there. Always difficult to get the exact floor of these things when it's such a tight and such a steep channel. But looking for support, obviously there recent support around 115, and below that the old May resistance at 112. End of day close through 121 is probably the trigger for a potential move to the upside of fresh records towards 142,000 by the end of next month if we get that break quickly, i.e. in the next week or so. But obviously when this market moves, it can really move. The RSI at 58, so that's in a good place for a potential move to the upside and shows a consolidation or indicates a consolidation ahead of a move to the upside. Looking to Ethereum, and here we've got a situation where we're sort of stuck within a range. I had a little probe through the 3870 zone, but we've come back again. So probably the support here around 3530, which is the top of the old trend channel there from back in March. And at least while we're above that, we can dream of a move towards 4400, which is the upper parallel of that rising trend channel in place since February. The current situation is that probably as little as an end of day close through the 3850 level would be a potential signal for aggressive traders looking for 4,000 plus. Onto gold, and here it's been a bit of a struggle in the recent past. We've got quite a steep rising trend channel and trying to find support towards the floor of it, so it's a bit of a movable feast at the moment as I've just moved it, but 3330 looks like the floor of the channel there, or 3320, and if we do break down, then the 3200 to 3220 zone would be the favored destination. Looking more closely, we've still got the 50-day line rising, but we do have the RSI below neutral 50, so can't rule out a bit of a rug pull, even if we then go on to break the red April resistance line there towards 3430, which has been a bit of a barrier over the recent past. We can we'll get a 3430 break in the next week or two, then we still have a chance of 3800 by the end of next month. Moving on to the stocks, and Arkle is the first on the list. Here you can see that we've had a bit of a jump of late, and current situation is that the shares are in a rising trend channel. We're near the floor of that channel, top of the channel there, up to 0.62. Obviously, that seems like a long way away at the moment, but at least while we hold above the 0.2 area, we have a notional top of range move, maybe for August, September, at the top of the range. Moving on to Bezant, and here shares maintaining their uplift that they had last month, trying to find the support point, which at the moment is the old October resistance, 0.039 or 0.04, and above that we're still looking for a retest of 0.55 by the end of next month. RSI bouncing at neutral 50 as well, which is a positive, and also bouncing, the share price bouncing well above the 50-day line so far. Cloudbreak is next in the wake of today's RNS. Here you can see that we think we've got a rising trend channel base for the shares. We're bouncing off a falling 200-day line, so maybe the best thing here is to wait for an end-of-day close through the 50-day line and then target up to 0.28 by the end of next month if we can get a quick break of that 50-day moving average. On to EnergyPathways, which seems quite interestingly poised at the moment. We've got the market or the stock at and above the 50-day line there at 4.85. We've also had 2 or 3 bounces for the RSI above the neutral 50 level. So it does look as though the shares are primed for a move up, at least up to the 200-day line at 6 3/4. Obviously, the main resistance here, which has been a bit of a pain at 8 pence since February. We're still looking for the upside while we're above the floor of that wide channel from October at 4 pence, but ideally we stay on the right side of that 50-day line. EKF is next, and here you can see, if I type out the right stock, you can see that we've got quite an active situation, building quite well this week. We've hit the initial target there around 29.5 pence, and above that looking for up to 35 pence by the end of next month, or hopefully a bit sooner than that. Multiple bounces off neutral 50, 4 or 5 I think or more since the beginning of the month, and you don't see that very often, and that is hopefully a strong leading indicator on the upside. Onto a requested stock, and actually the whole move here was requested from, well, the stock was requested as the rally started here. Looking for the top of the channel there at 14 pence by the end of next month on fusion antibodies. Ideally, we stay above the resistance of last week, peak of last week at 8 pence, ahead of a move to 14 pence on fusion. 50 and 200-day lines rising nicely, and hopefully we can stay above the 8 pence zone, or 9 pence zone in fact, which was the January resistance for the shares. Next on the list is stock I don't think I've covered for ages, HydrogenOne, but on a dull day, we've got a rising trend channel base. We've got the shares gapping up above the 200-day line, and looking for at least a retest of 31 pence over the next week or so. Best case would be by the end of next month to fill that gap down from November as high as 37 pence. But at least while we're above that 200-day line of 25 pence, looks as though we may have a base in place. Stock of the moment by quite some margin, with the Laffer curve man and other activities going on here, is Hamak. Did tweet out yesterday that was running out of trend lines, and because we hit all the targets. Current situation is at above the recent peak of last week, around 5 1/4. Looking for a best case scenario target as high as 11 pence, which is the top of that possible rising trend channel in place since back in March. But obviously we've had fantastic gains already. I think we're up 9x over the course of this year, and a very solid looking situation at the moment, especially while we're above that 5 1/4 pence area. On to another requested stock on a dull day, which is Narf Industries, and here possible rising trend channel base. We've got the shares above the 200-day line properly now for the first time in about a year. The issue now is whether there's going to be any follow through. The easiest thing here would be to wait for an end of day close through 0.6 to then target 0.87, which is the top of the channel. Otherwise, any dips towards the floor of the channel there, 0.47, would be a potential opportunity. But ideally, we don't go back below that 50 and 200-day line area at 0.5 pence on Narf. Finishing off with a stock which has had many false dawns, and maybe this is just the latest of them, but as I said, on a dull day, looking at everything at the moment. So the positives here are that Nativo has Got bullish divergence, so we have a lower lows for the end of July, but higher RSI trace, in fact, much higher RSI trace, so that could be a leading indicator in its own right. Ideally, obviously, we get through recent resistance 0.32, but if you believe in the RSI, then the target here would be up to 0.82 by the end of September, or the other strategy would just be target the 50-day line 0.38 initially, but best case here is 0.8 pence plus if we can get a quick move through the 0.3 pence area. That's it for me today. More updates tomorrow.